Hello again, friend, or if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome to the Flow with the Grow podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and this is a podcast for all things health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, spiritual wellness, personal development, self-growth, growing through life's challenges, perspective, mindset, so many things. And happy first kind of like snowy, blizzardy couple of days here. We got a beautiful snowfall here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota last week. The snowflakes were so ginormous and big, and it was so pretty to watch. I absolutely loved it. And then the next day, the trees were frosted, and it was just so pretty. And apparently we're supposed to get snow for the next 3 days straight, so we will see how this turns out. Today's episode, I want to talk to you about what it means to have a healthy relationship with food, and more so how to kind of recognize and become aware that maybe you need to improve your relationship with food. Because maybe like me years ago, I didn't know, I thought I had a healthy relationship with food until I kind of zoomed way out after years of yo-yo dieting and restricting foods and all of those things that you may be struggling with right now or have in the past. And the reason I decided to record this episode on this topic today is because I had shared a post. Well, over the past couple weeks here and months, I've been sharing more about nutrition and having a healthy relationship with food and saying words like food freedom and food peace and all these things. But really, what does that mean? And how do you become aware of when you need to work on those things? What are some signs that you can look for, that you can become aware of each day that will help show you that maybe you don't necessarily have a healthy relationship with food, and maybe this is the thing that is holding you back from your weight loss goal, your fat loss goal, sustainable results. Maybe you start and stop over and over again. This could be it. This could be the foundation that you need to work on. I shared a post and it had said, sustainable weight loss starts with a healthy relationship with food. Now, in fitness, I like to say that our bodies and the movements and working out, we got to kind of build like we do with a house. We have to start with ground zero. We have to start with a foundation. It has to be a strong foundation, and it's going to take time. And then once we get that foundation laid, we can then work on level 1, floor 1, or floor 2. So we kind of build it like that way. And I really think that food and our relationship with food is the same way. This has to be a foundation, a foundational piece to our house to help us with sustainable weight loss, sustainable fat loss. In one way or another, I promise you, at some point in time, the relationship you have with food will matter. And these are the signs that you can look for within yourself, your own journey when you are, going about your day-to-day and in pursuing your goals. By the way, I want to share with you a community group, a private group that I have on Facebook. If you are not a part of it already, it is called the Food Freedom and Muscle Building Solutions group, and it is free to anyone. Currently, we're doing a water challenge for the month of December, just so that's one habit that we can work on during the holiday season that is going to actually, even though it's a small thing, it's going to help impact so many other things in the future. It's kind of like a ripple effect thing. So many things can change when we start to drink more water. And it's kind of just one small step that we can take. And I'm also going to do a live training tomorrow, if you're listening to this Tuesday, Wednesday, December 14th at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. I will be going live talking about how to boost your metabolism for fat loss. And in the future, I will also be doing a live training on how to improve your relationship with food. So this episode will kind of go right along with that. But if you would like access to that training, or maybe it's past that date and you would like access to that recording, you can find me on Facebook, send me a message, and I'll send you the link to this group. You can also email me at flowwiththegrowpodcast@gmail.com, and I will get you right in there. All right, this is in no specific order by any means. It's just going to be a list of the things that I thought of that in my journey, it has kind of been a sign for me that I need to work on my relationship with food. And the first one, if you label foods as good or bad. Now, I've talked about this topic on another episode, and more specifically on this topic in episode number 123, which I will link that in the show notes if you would like to listen to that. It's kind of more talking about mindset, how we view food, and labeling food, again, as good or bad. Now, to me, when I stopped labeling food as good food or bad food, like a donut is bad for me, or a cookie is bad for me, I can't have that, or pop is bad for me, or this salad is good for me, I need to eat more of that, or chicken is good for me, I need to eat more of that. When I stopped labeling it like that, it just changes the feel. Like the wordings that we use with things in our vocabulary, within our language, it can make a big difference. So when I stopped using that phrase, good food, bad, it started to help me release the all or nothing mentality. And it also helped me to break away from food guilt, food shame, fearing food, which will also lead me to number 2 is if you have any foods that you are fearful of. Like if you don't eat certain foods out of fear that it will make you gain weight or like whatever it may be. But I'll get to that in a second. So back to the good versus bad. It kind of helped me, it really did help me release the food guilt, the shame around certain foods. Like if I were to eat a donut, I would feel bad about it. Like I would feel so guilty. I'm like, I need to burn this off, which will also be another one, but I need to like work it off or whatever it is. So if you like kind of a little bit of a deeper dive into that, go listen to episode 123 and I talk more about that. Moving on to number 2, and that is if you fear a certain food. And a very common one I feel like is carbs. Like we fear that carbs are going to make us gain weight. It's like not the best for us. So like the pastas, the breads, even sweets is another one. So if there's any one food or multiple foods or like a category of food that you fear, that is a sign that maybe we need to work on our relationship with food. When we start to fear certain foods, we then will try to restrict certain foods or limit or avoid. And when that happens, what does your mind constantly think about? Those things, like the things that you are fearing, the things that you are trying to eat less of, the things that you are wanting to avoid, restrict, limit, like your brain is going to want more of that. It's seriously like when you tell a kid to not do something, they go and do it. That's like all that they can think about, all that they can do. So number 1, if you label food as good versus bad. Number 2, if there's any foods or category of foods that you fear. Number 3, if you tell yourself that you need to, quote, burn off the food that you ate or that you need to work off the food that you ate, that is another sign. And then right along with that, number 4, if you feel the need to go on a certain diet or a certain cleanse or a certain like whatever it is, like I want you to do whatever it is because you are going to find joy in that. Like you're going to look forward to it. It is maybe a program or a way of eating that you want to experiment with, that you want to try. Like it needs to be something that is coming from a positive place and not out of fear of gaining weight, or not because you feel guilty or shameful or regret eating certain things. And so then you feel like in order to control food, you need to be on some sort of cleanse, which that's where I was at a few years ago. Like I legit constantly felt like I needed to be on a cleanse or diet or like a program, quote, program of some sort, whether it was like 21 days, 30 days, whatever it was. Otherwise, I couldn't control food myself. And that is just no way to live. That is a part of the yo-yo dieting and a part of that emotional roller coaster of restricting and then binging, restricting, and like it going through that over and over again. I'm not saying that it's necessarily all the time unhealthy to do maybe this like 21-day challenge or 30-day challenge. But if you do it in a way that isn't restrictive, it's not out of fear, and it's not because you can't seem to control food. Like at that point, we need to get to the root issue, the root cause, which is the relationship that you have with food. Okay. So that was, I think 5 is where we're at right now. Labeling food as good and bad, fearing a certain food or category of food, feeling like you have to work off or burn off food that you ate, and needed to be on some sort of cleanse or diet program because you can't control food or because it's out of fear. And going along with those last two, something to think about is when you punish yourself through exercise because of something that you ate, you are then training your mind to also think that food is bad, which then you'll just be in that cycle over and over again. And then that's also going to affect your relationship with exercise and then your relationship with your body. Like, I'm sure you've heard it, that exercise should be a celebration of what your body can do. And that is important. And that is so true. Your body has the ability to exercise. It has the ability to move. That's something that should be celebrated and we should give thanks for and gratitude for and do it for those reasons versus out of hate and then trying to work out for hours or do a bunch of cardio and just kind of set us back even more. The next one, you have that all or nothing mentality. So I mentioned that in just a little bit ago, but the all or nothing mentality. Let's say it's Sunday, you maybe had an off weekend or week and you're just like, I need to get back on track. You make your meal plan, you get all the healthy food. You're like, I'm not getting any sweets. I'm not getting any of the foods that I consider as quote bad. And you like just limit what you buy. And while it's awesome that you're going to the grocery store, you're meal prepping, you are going to buy the foods that are nourishing for you. That's a step, right? But however, here's where it's maybe not the best, is you're going all in, and let's say it's a couple days in, let's say it's a couple weeks in, and you've been hella restricting certain foods. Like you go to the grocery store maybe again, and you just so badly want a cookie, you want that box of cookies, but you're just forcing yourself to not get it. And then it's like, that's all you think about. And then at some point, you crack and you buy whatever it is. And then you're like, screw it. I'm just going to eat all these, or I'm going to start over again tomorrow, or I'm going to start over again on the weekend. Like, no, we got to stop with that. Like we're going to have times where we're going to have a piece of pizza, or we're going to have like a cookie or whatever it is for you that you feel like you want to eat less of. And we're going to fall off track, quote, fall off track. But like, that just is a part of the journey. So we got to start accepting that that's going to happen. And then when it does, like, it's okay. We'll just move on. Tomorrow's a new day. Like, let's start fresh again. But I'm telling you that when you don't restrict ever, when you stop restricting foods, that happens like less and less where you want certain foods, like you crave certain foods, and you will find balance. Maybe in the beginning, you eat more of those things. Like you say that you're not restricting and you're not going all in, but you're going to be eating more of those things. But eventually, it's kind of like it all balances out and you don't crave those anymore. Or you say, you know what, I don't really want that right now. Like it's an easy no. Or let's say it's like within that day and you go out to eat at a restaurant and then you are like, okay, well, I just messed up that meal. Like screw it for the rest of the day. Again, enjoy it. It's okay. Move on. It happened. It is a part of this journey. It is what it is. And we have another choice in another moment. This kind of goes along with number one and maybe number two. But I had said, if you label a food as quote good or bad, well, this one is maybe you don't really label foods that way. However, a question to ask yourself, do you experience guilt and shame and regret after eating any food? Maybe it's after you eat a food that you do deem as bad or quote unhealthy. So taking time after you eat something to kind of tune in to how you feel, what your thoughts are. If you experience guilt and shame, then yes, that is definitely a sign that we need to work on your relationship with food. Number 7, do you feel like you just can't control food? Like again, when I had mentioned a little bit ago, like if you feel like you have to be on some sort of cleanse or program or whatever, you can't control food yourself, like without being on something like that, that is another sign that we need to heal your relationship with food. And then not only that, but not only feeling out of control and you can't control food, but also feeling out of control like after you start eating certain foods, like you start eating and you just can't seem to stop. Or maybe you do have times where you binge on certain things and you start eating, you can't stop, but you're full and you feel really full and you're like, why can I not stop eating? and then you're eating really, really fast at the same time as that. And then again, that's when the shame and the guilt and things come in. Okay. So you're hopefully there's kind of like a little pattern going on here. But again, another sign that we need to work on your relationship with food. So if this is a yes to one of these, to all of these, multiple of these, then it might be time to work on this aspect of your health and wellness and time to work on healing your relationship with food. Another episode that I'm going to mention that talks about food freedom is episode 120. Again, I will link that in the show notes. Creating food freedom for when you know what you should be eating, but you can't seem to stick to your plan. So in that episode, I share a little bit more about a mindset shift and then ways that will help you to overcome those cravings, those internal struggles that you might have with certain foods. If you found this helpful in recognizing whether you need to maybe work on your relationship with food or not, I would love it if you would just shoot me a message and let me know which one you felt like you resonated with, and I can do my best to help you with different ways to help you improve your relationship with food. If you are wanting to focus more on improving your relationship with food, hop into that Facebook group that I talked about in the beginning, because I share more in there, and we're going to talk more about that, dive deeper into ways to improve that with different guides and tips and a live training that I'm going to do in there. That is just a really big focus at this point in time with that Facebook group. And be sure to tune in to episodes in the future, as I will also have episodes talking more about ways, like tactical ways that you can improve your relationship with food and cultivating that food freedom, having peace with food, peace with your body, all that good stuff. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.